Howdy, partner.
Hello.
Hi.
How long has it been?
I know it's been a month and change. It's been a month and a little bit of change. Because I was in Europe for all of April. Not on American soil for a second of that month.
So you went there for Birmingham plus recording content leading up to Birmingham. Did you come back after Birmingham?
I did come back like a little bit after Birmingham, but I waited to take a cheaper flight and kind of hang out in London for a little bit. But yeah, I was originally supposed to go for the Counter-Strike major to work in Copenhagen, and then our team didn't qualify. But I had a family vacation planned in Europe. My parents were, for the first time, going to go to Europe, and I was going to go with them. And suddenly, I had no reason to be there because of the Counter-Strike team situation in Copenhagen. So I had to rearrange all of my travel. So I ended up going to Europe, having a vacation with them for a couple weeks, going to the office in Utrecht and doing some Team Liquid stuff for a couple of weeks, and then going to ESL before coming home. I never originally, I think, was going to go to ESL, so I got really lucky to go, and the only day that I was at the event was the day that the team lost to Falcons. That's the only series that I watched, as a matter of fact, because
wow.
I don't want to make this a travel story podcast, but have you ever... What is the worst day of travel you've ever had? Do you have a day that sticks out in your mind of this was a bottom 1% day in my life and I was traveling?
Yeah, it was probably when I moved back to the US after joined DOTA. I was on a time crunch with my apartment situation, and I was getting out of that and moving to the US. So quit my job, moving. So already two of the most stressful things in life, according to, studies and stuff. Those are two of the big ones. And I was pretty much broke at that time. So add in
that's a third thing.
Third factor in there. And Ellie and I had to make the decision what we were going to do relationship-wise. So she moved with me to the U.S. So, add in some relationship stuff there. That's a little stressful as well. Also, that part was also exciting. That was, it's stress, but it was also excitement. And we're both going to move back to the U.S. And we are bringing our cat with us. And we did everything ahead of time. We got to the airport super early. We had an early flight, a 6:30 flight. We got to the airport at 3 or 4 a.m. or something like that, before the airport was actually open. And we get there and we have our cat, and we'd already done all this stuff online. But the KLM people there were not sure if we were able to bring the cat onto the flight. And they could not figure it out long enough that we ended up missing our flight.
Are you flying from, are you in Germany and you're flying direct to America?
We're flying Berlin to Portland. So we're going Berlin to Chicago, I think.
Probably.
Either Berlin to Amsterdam to Chicago, Chicago to Portland. It was something like that. And... So we had to make a decision whether or not we were going to leave our cat behind in order to make our flight. And we decided not to do that, but I couldn't afford another flight for us. KLM refused to rebook us. Fucking hate KLM. God, I hate them so much every single time I think about this story. I fly them all the time because they're partnered with Delta, but fucking hate KLM for this. So I had to borrow money from my dad in order to get a second flight home. And there was no problem whatsoever getting the cat on the plane. There was literally zero problems. KLM just made up some fucking bullshit We're like, oh, we don't know if we could do that, even though we already did it all out of time. So that was an extremely stressful amount of time, being either leaving our cat behind or being like too broke to purchase a second flight and having to borrow money for it. That was a very stressful day.
What was the difference between the first flight and the second flight to where the cat wasn't an issue? Nothing.
Nothing. There was nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, the second flight was less prepared because we had already scheduled all this stuff beforehand through KLM. We did it online. We called them. It was all figured out. And they just screwed us. So...
You know, we have a funny through line with the story I'm about to tell you, because I am so mad at KLM.
Yo, fuck KLM.
Fuck KLM. God, I also fly them because they're partnered with Delta, and generally it's okay, but boy, oh boy, do these motherfuckers love their rules. Which, if I've learned anything about Dutch culture from the last, I don't know, however many years I've been working with a bunch of Dutch people, I love you, Victor, holy shit, do they love their rules, man.
Yeah.
Christ almighty. So I'm hanging out basically in Amsterdam at the Team Liquid facility, right? And I am going to travel directly from Amsterdam to Birmingham. I have a one-way flight, and it is Thursday morning, so it is going to be like I don't even that's not a stage day. It's like the day before playoffs start in earnest at the arena, right? So I'm going to get there nice and early. I'm going to meet up with my team that's there. I'm going to meet up with the players who've already been doing content. I'm like, cool, whatever. Wednesday night rolls around. I feel icky. Like I'm going to bed with like a stomach that is like not super happy, and it's not super nauseous. It's not super diarrhea-y. It's just like crampy, like uncomfortable, crampy, whatever. And So it's Wednesday night. My flight is Thursday evening at like 5 p.m. Wednesday night, I am not sleeping very well. I get up at 2 a.m. and I'm like, should I just like throw up? Is that gonna gonna help me here? Like, I don't really want to do that. Who likes vomiting? Not me. And maybe I'll just try and fall asleep, whatever. I wake up at 4 a.m. and I have the same conversation with myself, but the conversation has a predetermined outcome because I have no choice but to run my bare ass naked person self to the bathroom, which was very cold, and throw up in this toilet that is too small to properly catch everything. But that's not the point of the story. I am having a bad time. I am puking, Austin. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm puking, Austin, to the point of like dry heaving. I'm like, man,
that's real bad when you're puking and nothing comes out.
Yeah. My body just
bad.
Yeah, something is going on. And I'm like, okay, I either have like food poisoning or some type of stomach virus. It has to be one of the two. No fever, no shitting. Maybe food poisoning, not really sure. I go back to bed. I wake up. I try and puke again. I go back to bed. It's like 10 a.m. now on Tuesday, and on Thursday I'm supposed to like have meetings and like do work stuff. And I'm just and the Team Liquid apartments that I'm staying in are right above the office. They're like a floor above the office. I can stomp on the ground and probably my coworkers could hear it, right? And I'm texting them like, hey guys, I'm not gonna see you today. We're not gonna get coffee. I'm not gonna do the stuff we talked about. I don't feel good. I need to sleep. And they're like, whatever. And I'm like, oh man, like the games aren't really today. I probably don't have to travel today. Like maybe I can just, I don't know, like push the flight back a day or so. That won't be a problem. I think I got like flexible tickets, right? It's now like noon, 1 maybe. My flight's at 5 again, and I'm trying to talk to KLM. And I'm like, hey, I am not well. What do I have to do to push my ticket back? Can I fly tomorrow? Can I fly directly to London, take a train? Can I take a later flight? Like, I'll do anything. I would just really prefer not to travel today. And they say, sir, no problem. We are here for you. That'll be $620.
Like, all right, fuck it. I guess I'm puking all over your plane then.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? This one-way flight that I booked like a month and a half ago cost $80. So they're like, yeah, the difference in rate now, it's like if you want to fly tomorrow, it's a $700 flight. So, you got to pay the difference. And I'm like, are you shitting me? So I want to die. I have been living in this apartment for like a month and I'm just like unpacked all over it. And I'm basically like, well, I haven't thrown up in like 5 hours. Maybe I can make this airplane. I pack everything. I get on the train from Utrecht to Schiphol. I do not feel good on the train because I feel every little micro fucking bump on the train track, and every little tiny millimeter of sway is just making me less and less happy. And then I get to the platform at Schiphol Airport from the train station, and I get off the train, and I'm like, I have to puke. And I'm looking around, and there are so many people, and there is no bathroom that is close. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm running through, like, it's almost like I'm in a video game now, and I'm looking around like a detective, and I'm just like investigating all of these different areas of like, where could I puke and what is the most optimal option? And I'm
Meanwhile,
sweating.
There's a timer going down. It's getting closer and closer to zero.
Exactly. We're going to D-Day real quick. And I'm like, what do I throw up in the trash? But the trash cans are not like trash cans. They're like little... They're angled entry points that have small holes that are probably about the size of my fist. So in order to puke in the trash can, I would have to essentially put my mouth in the trash can hole, which is not very appealing. And then there's a sanitation worker on the platform who is cleaning the trash cans, but he has a big trash can that he's pushing around. And I'm like, do I run and throw up in this man's giant trash can that he's working with? Yeah. That seems like I would ruin his day. And then I'm like, do I throw up on the train tracks? That's a thing that I think people do, right? They just kind of, but like, what if I time that wrong and get my head taken off? Or like, am I just ruining the train platform for everybody? And I'm like, what if there's like a little corner I can pee or throw up into like a bum? And while I'm trying to do this math, none of these options sound good, so I just kind of puke in my mouth a little bit and swallow it.
Oh, gross. Puke in the trash can. That's what it's there for.
Yeah, probably should have done that. The hole was so small. It would have been a very...
No, the big one. The janitor guy one.
He would have been so mad. I probably should have chosen...
It's filled with trash.
Be like, hey man, I'm gonna...
It's not gonna smell good anyway.
So I get through the airport. I get through security. I think that I'm really cutting it close. My flight's delayed. That's probably a good thing. I hang out for a little bit. I would have made the flight anyways, but I'm just sitting there for like an extra hour or so. I get on the airplane, and I still want to die. This day has been so incredibly not fun. I sit down on the airplane, and then I get a tap on my shoulder from behind me. And this guy goes, I hear this man's voice before turning around. It's like, hey, do you work for Team Liquid? And I'm like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, not right now. Not right now. I want to die. And I turn around, and it's my new senior vice president of sales. This lovely man whose name is Ishik, who I have not met in person before, who just came over from Heroic and is going to Birmingham on like for work. And he's like, he reaches his hand out. He's like, oh man, like you're Joey, right? Like, dude, this is so crazy. Nice to meet you. And I'm just like cold sweating, like, hey man, you probably don't want to shake my hand. He's like, no, you want to come sit over here? And I'm trying to tell him, as this plane is at capacity, I do not want to sit next to him because I do not want his first impression of me to be me vomiting next to him on an airplane. So I'm like, it's okay, like I might have to like go to the bathroom, so I'm just gonna keep my aisle seat. He's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure, okay, whatever, yeah.
Was he trying to get you to swap for a middle seat so you could sit next to each other?
Essentially, yes. So we can talk.
Come on, bro.
So
what
we
are
can
you
talk.
doing?
I'm just like, dude, whatever. I try and fall asleep on the plane ride. I like take nausea medication. I'm like, oh god. I nap for like a little bit. It's only like a 40-minute flight. I get up, I leave the plane, I leave my fucking Bose noise canceling headphones on the plane.
No, done that before. Yo.
I got them back. They made me pay £30 to get them back.
What the fuck?
Which feels like extortion. It's on the extortion spectrum. But
why the fuck did you have to pay to get them back?
Because the way the Birmingham airport works, which, by the way, total shit show of an airport, potentially the worst one I've ever been to, and I've been to Dulles. The lost property is run by like a business, so people turn in lost property to the business from the airlines. And so in order to go back, it's like, have you lost a passport? That'll be £10. Have you lost a pillow? That'll be £5. Have you lost a personal electronic device? That'll be £30. So I go, I pick up my headphones, I get back to the hotel, so I take another train from the airport to Central Station and then walk like a mile to my hotel. And by the time I get there, I just fall asleep. I miss the first games the next day. I realize it was probably food poisoning because by Friday I feel totally fine. Like 99% okay. I go to the arena. I say hi to the boys. I watch them win game 1 against Falcons. I get pretty excited. I watch game 2. I'm like, wow, this is like a fun game. That's a fun game. Bummer we lost. Kind of a close game. And then I watch us not even play game 3. Everybody goes home. And I'm like, why the fuck am I in Birmingham?
What a great city to visit, though.
Dude.
So did you stay? Did you keep going to the event after Liquid lost?
I did, only because, like, you know, there were friends there. I had some friends who were at the event, and also, like, you know, just hanging out with people. I had a pass, so I'm like, you know, I get to have all the free food and all that bullshit, and just really abuse the privilege of hanging out backstage, right? So
was that your first time at ESL1 Birmingham?
It was my first time at ESL1 Birmingham.
It's a pretty fun experience, right?
It was a great crowd. I think that, you know, yes. a lot of people gave a lot of credit for that. They said on the broadcast a lot. But being there was kind of special because it was really rowdy. I'm worried the country has an issue with alcoholism, but that's a different...
Yep. And Copenhagen's probably going to be the same. From what I saw from the PGL major, in Copenhagen,
I'm excited for that.
Lot of drinking. Gotta be a lot of drinking there, and there's gonna be a lot of Dota fans because Blast is coming into the scene. So you're probably gonna see a lot of Copenhagen events where we have literally never done a Copenhagen event in Dota at a tier 1 level anyway. Mm-hmm.
And now we're gonna do Blast events in TI, so there's gonna be a lot of Dota in Copenhagen. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Is there? There's so much Dota going. Like right now, there's the event going on in Romania. Blast just announced that they're doing events like this and next year. Where I'm looking at the calendar and just trying to find out when the fuck I can do stuff with my team, and it's tight, man. There is not a lot going. There's not a lot of free time.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's good for Dota. For sure, because like obviously Valve exiting the scene leaves a big hole and a big void, and who's gonna fill it? ESL and PGL. Are there anybody other tournament organizers? And then ESB came in with their Qatar investment that they got, and then we've got BetBoom, who are doing more events as well, and then Blast. So, and we haven't even gotten to any Chinese events. Which I assume Chinese events are going to be coming back eventually.
Yeah.
Right. At least 1 or 2.
And we know there's Russia events, but those don't really count. So, you know.
Yeah, if Putin's there, it doesn't count, you know.
But yeah, so much Dota going on right now. I haven't even watched anything that's going on in Romania, mostly because the tide's been pretty bad for the last 2 days. But I don't know.
So you know what I did for Birmingham?
What did you do for Birmingham? I actually do know what you did from Birmingham. You were doing a little bit of the remote newbie stream, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we did groups, but then we did a newbie stream. ESL wanted to do a newbie stream. I don't know. Maybe they were just trying to give us work. I don't really know. But they put together a newbie stream, and we got feedback that it went very well. But let me just say, I never want to do that again.
How did you prepare for that? Like,
I didn't really. I mean, I thought about it in my head of like, how do you explain Dota to people? They also hit me with I thought it was going to be a relatively new to Dota, and then we got the like a day or two before they were like, hey, we want this so that like students in a room somewhere can watch this and understand what Dota is. So we want entirely new to Dota. And I was just like, oh, man, this is getting worse. And initially, the idea was to have us restart the explaining Dota at the start of a new series. And I said no. I didn't even tell them no. I just sort of decided we weren't going to do that. Because by the time you get through one series of explaining Dota, you haven't even covered half of the basics of Dota. There is so much to explain about Dota, and Dota has always been hard to explain, but now there is so much more. We never talked about the Watchers, for example. We never talked about the Watchers. Not once did we ever talk about those things, because frankly, they're small enough that like, who the fuck cares, right? They don't really have an impact on the game 90% of the time. So, like, at least not an impact that you, as the viewer, can see, right? Mm-hmm. Especially a newbie. So we never talked about the Watchers. Despite, like, spending an entire day explaining Dota, never talked about the Watchers. We hit on neutral items, but, like, we definitely did not cover... We covered, like, maybe... Let's say we covered Bottle, because that's important for the mid lane. Boots... and then certain key items sometimes in a game. So BKB, maybe Yules, because there was a lot of Wind Wakers. Like, let's say less than 10 items we ever talked about. And we definitely never talked about any neutral items. To give you an idea of like how little we covered, an entire day of talking about Dota meant that we could not discuss items in depth.
Did you find it more important to talk about, like, the actual baseline mechanics of Dota, like creeps walk through lanes and towers and ancients and barracks? Like, are you repeating a lot of that? Or are you focusing more on, like, heroes, like this is Axe?
Oh, no, we didn't talk about... okay, so the first series would just get you through the baseline of... Here's what Dota is. Like we start the first game. We only watch the mid lane. We don't watch anything else. We only sit there and watch this 1v1 for like 10 minutes. And then like game 2, we're like, okay, now we're gonna go to a side lane. So side lane means we're doing a 2v2. You know, like and that's sort of like that's the kind of progress that you get because there is so much information to be able to get down. So by the time you get to the second series. The second series, the draft happens. The problem is the draft is like a big problem for explaining Dota because there's things that are happening there that you don't really want to talk about, right? I could talk about the basics of like what a draft is and what that, but like don't really want to talk about what's happening there. It's when you're starting off talking about Dota.
Yeah.
Now the second series, you can talk about like, okay. Here's this hero. We're going to talk about 2 abilities, 2 abilities that you're going to see that are like important to this hero. We definitely would never talk about all 4 abilities, and very rarely talk about like their Aghanim Scepter or Shard, though we did talk about Aghanim Scepters and Shards, how they exist, and sometimes they give extra abilities, and like every once in a while we would talk about that ability. But
what was the hardest hero to talk about?
I mean, again, we only covered like 2 abilities on every hero, so it's like we left it at such a baseline level that there was like no. It was easy to talk about every single hero because it's like Kunkka, it's like he's gonna make a bunch of splashing water and a big boat's gonna come in, choo choo, you know, like, oh my god, it was the worst fucking casting experience of my life, I think.
Who was
now,
having?
I would do it again if I'm put in that position, and like, you know, I'll make that money, you know, like I got paid for that. I will do it again, but I do not want to do that again. Let me just say.
Who had a harder time, you or Avery?
I've got a conversation up with Avery right now, where I think he said there were a couple of moments in the cast where he was like questioning God or something like that. I think you know, Avery was very good at explaining the basics. Mm-hmm. He was very good at it, but I think we equally did not enjoy it.
Interesting. So did you have anybody, like any of your viewers who are like obviously Dota people, watch the stream for you? Like, what was their what was their feedback? Because I assume you've heard from some of them.
Listen, some of those guys are going to listen to this. I fucking hate you guys. I fucking hate you guys. Guys come in. I appreciate it. I understand it. I get why. But, you know, they go there to the stream because me and Avery are there. And I think they were maybe expecting something different. But every single person had the same idea, which was just ask stupid question. When should I go into the fountain? You know, like, can you explain to me? I was just like, I fucking hate you guys. I'm just sitting there, like, I can't say anything because I know that, like, ESL gave me that prompt in the first place. They're like, we want people in suits who are in a boardroom to be able to watch this. And so, like, I don't know who they're going to show this to as a product because they very clearly said, like, we don't care how many viewers are on the stream. So, like, I don't know exactly what they're doing with that, but, like, they're doing something with it. So I'm just trying to keep this professional product going and just trying to do what I was hired to do.
Your friends are trolling you.
And my fucking chat is just filled with not new people to Dota. And I just keep on saying, yeah, so if anybody legitimately new to Dota has any questions, be sure to let us know in the chat. You know? And I was just, I don't know. I just get all these fucking trolling questions and shit. And then there was the other half, which was still kind of annoying, but like with good intentions, so like I can't hate on it. But it was like the other half of it was like people further explaining what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But like I'm here, like I've thought out this concept. I'm not going into further detail because the entire problem with Dota is that there are too many things to talk about, so you overload the viewer. Yeah. So like everything that I'm saying, I'm not explaining it to the nitty gritty detail because that's not good for teaching, right? So it's like, so most of the chat was just filled with people like further elaborating on like things that we're already saying. And then it turns into like conversations of like, you know, like the guys who have like, I haven't played in 5 years, but they know what Dota is and they've played Dota, or like, you know, I've only played Dota for a year. And it's definitely more complex learning Dota than like what the stream is made for. Like, like to be honest, like the stream is just like it's such a specific narrow focus, and there's such a broad spectrum of like learning Dota and what that entails that, you know, you're just not going to be able to like really hit that for everyone. But we got a lot of feedback with the feedback, like what that stream was actually for what I got the most feedback all the time was people saying, I played Dota for years, and I've got my girlfriend, mom, dad, sister, brother watching the tournament with me, watching this stream. And unfortunately, those people aren't ever going to say anything, right? They reach out on like social media and stuff like that, like after the fact or maybe even during, but they're not going to be in the chat asking the new person's questions that they're teaching. Like, you know,
they could explain
it's somebody
more too.
who loves Dota and who that person has somebody that loves them enough to, you know, consume this with them. And as a result, you know, this stream is the best for them to kind of learn something about it. But yeah, but those people aren't there in chat. So it's like, you would like to be able to have a product where it's like people who are actually new to Dota are asking questions. But frankly, the people who are actually new to Dota watching that stream aren't the people who are going to type, you know? So
I wonder how you would ever solve that. Like, I feel if the intent is to really help educate people, then you almost need like almost like a classroom, like a group of people who have self-identified that like are actually the audience you want, and an environment that like if there was like a moderator there to actually ask real questions or actually like have a conversation with people who don't know Dota, then almost you're having like a teaching session with people who are kind of in good faith. But it sounds like you were trying to like be a professor in whatever topic, but half of the people in your audience were already like PhD students on the topic.
Yeah. I'm trying to teach kindergarten, and they're a bunch of kids in 6th grade, you know? Yeah. So yeah, it was exhausting. Did not have a great time. And then the entire time I'm sitting there and being like, sure wish I was at Birmingham right now. So it was just like further. So then it wasn't even like I could just ignore the event. Mm-hmm. I was like actively fixating on the fact that there was this event going on. Mm-hmm. It was double down bad. So I did not have fun. But you know what? I got paid. Job's a job. You know, that's how she goes. One
more question. Do you think you talked more in the newbie cast or less in the newbie cast? Like what were your words per minute? Like, did you have to do more vocalizing?
Combined, Avery and I probably talked more in that cast than we've ever talked in a cast before, because there is so much to learn about Dota. There is no downtime. Like, you know, in like an esports cast, I like silence sometimes. I like to just I like playing around with silence. And I think it's something that's underutilized in casts. And I'm okay just to like vibe and just watch a little Dota with the audience, you know, every once in a while. But there it's just like every break is just like, okay, now we're talking about this thing. Now we're talking about that. Here are what denies are. You see a little fucking exclamation point that shows up above a creep. You know, when a last hit is when you get the killing blow on a creep and it gives you a gold bounty, you know. But you can hit your own creeps to make sure
the enemy. God. Yeah, that does sound exhausting. Doing that for a full day sounds rough.
Yeah, fortunately it was just 2 series. We did not do the first so we did Saturday. We did not do the first series on Saturday. We did the second and third series. And then Sunday we did lower bracket final and grand final.
So when you're doing like the grand final on Sunday, are you telling the audience like, hey guys, you know what? These games, not very good.
No, we didn't. But let me just say, I've never prayed harder for a 2-0 and a 3-0. And God bless it. It happened, man. It fucking happened. Oh my God, it was so good. And there was also something about doing that made Avery and I like even more prone to the repetitive nature that is Dota right now. And when, you know, we're explaining now they're going to take this tier 2 and like now they're going to go high ground and the enemy's going to activate their glyph. And like we're literally laying the groundwork before it even happens. We're saying what's going to happen for the next fucking 20 minutes. they're gonna go take Roshan, and then they're gonna go high ground, and then they're gonna force out the glyph, and then maybe they're gonna go high ground again. But they're probably not gonna commit too much, and they're gonna back off. Then they're gonna wait for a second Roshan. They're gonna get another Roshan. They're gonna go high ground again. They're gonna take a lane of barracks. They're gonna back off. They're gonna wait for a third Roshan. They get the third Roshan. They go up high ground again for a second lane of barracks. It's just like Dota is like way too
Paint by numbers.
Yeah, way too paint by numbers right now. I think the newbie experience like made that really, really apparent when you're trying to break down the basics of like what you're seeing on screen and trying to relay to an audience that like the team that is winning is going to just keep playing to win more. And they're not going to take any risks because there are no incentives to take risks. Like that, it just becomes the whole theme of the finals at some point.
Yeah. Dota in that way actually feels like a lot closer to League of Legends more right now than it has in a long time. Because as somebody who does now kind of watch both and is watching MSI a little bit, it's so much of the same, and it makes me realize like, oh man, Dota really feels like step A, B, C, D at this moment.
Yeah. It's not great, and hopefully a big patch will shake things up in that regard.
It's strange though, because we both have a lot of people who I think have patch fatigue, which is even I feel like it's even apparent in the players at the moment. Like when I think that a lot of people expected going into ESL with some type of a patch and not just an event, so there was like a little less practice, a little less excitement, a little bit just a little bit more malaise than there otherwise would have been. And that's true, but at the same time, the event has more people playing Dota right now than have been there in like 18 months. So,
yeah, I think we Avery and I actually talked about this. We kind of agreed that playing Dota is still it's still quite fun. It's the watching Dota on the esports side. That's where the monotony actually comes into play, because obviously in like pubs, you're not going to get the same it's the
clean
controlled nature of Roshan and high ground and Roshan and high ground and Roshan and high ground. You're not gonna have that control, right?
Yep.
So it's just playing Dota is a lot more fun. So combine that with the event, it's like Dota is in a good place in that regard. It's just I think the esport product has gotten stale.
Are you playing Dota or are you only playing Hades 2 right now?
So I actually just played a game of Dota like an hour ago. Played one game with Slacks, we lost, and so the party disbanded.
It's shocking.
Yeah, but I'm playing lots of Hades right now. My mom actually came and visited for the last 5 days, so I haven't been able to play as much Hades as I would like to. But I have beaten the game a few times.
Okay.
But I haven't beaten the second part of the game for those guys who know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about, and I am a little conflicted and potentially here to seek some advice.
Okay.
I did not play Hades 1 in open access at all.
Okay.
I waited until it was 1.0 gold.
Mm-hmm.
And I also... And Hades, Hades was one of my favorite games the last 5 years. I think by so many metrics, it is truly phenomenal in so many different ways. I don't really want to play Hades 2 until it's finished. But I'm also so sad that I could play it, and I'm not, and I don't know what I should do. Is it, like, close to being done? Is there a full game there? Is it like what do I do?
Okay, so if I have not completed the game, I just said I haven't completed like the second part of the game, for example. So I would tell you right now, without even completing the second part yet, that if they had just released Hades as is right now, I would have been very happy with that. The game is very full. Very, very full. For an early access game, so I played Hades 1 early access on day one.
Wow.
I'm a huge Supergiant fan. I'm a huge roguelike fan. This was a combination of like both of my fucking, you know, it was my kink alley right there. So I dove head first into that early access right away. I had a ton of fun with the game. Spammed it out to a point that like I beat the game like probably, you know, 20 to 30 times maybe before I stopped. And then I would play it again on like an update. Like they had the Demeter update, so I played again on the Demeter update, and then I, you know, grinded out a little bit more, and then I stopped, and then I played again on release a whole bunch, and that was a great experience for me. And I would say Hades 2 early access is even better. It's even more fleshed out game. It has more content than Hades 1 had already. It already has more content than Hades
the
1.
Full game, like
yeah. In the early access game, Hades 2 has more content than Hades 1 full release.
Fuck.
From what I have gathered. So it seems like it's. I had a great experience doing the early access in Hades 1. And I'm having a great experience doing it in Hades 2. So
okay.
I would say it's worth it. But I understand anybody who's like wants to wait for a fully polished product. It is very polished. There are very few instances of early access stuff. So literally there is, just like in Hades 1, they have some of the artwork is not complete. Mm-hmm. So they have the early draws up, but those still look good, right? They still look very nice. And there's only, I think, 2 or 3 characters that I've run across that have their like mock-up art, but not the full art yet. There's some like the keepsakes. They have keepsakes again. The keepsakes are all the same icon. There's a third area that I don't have access to that I have a sneaking suspicion is not a part of early access yet. But that's about it. Okay. They use the same model for a couple of characters, not when you know the dialogue art that pops up.
Yeah.
Not that is the same, but they're on the map when you actually run into them on the ground. There are 2 characters that I think use the same model.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I can really point to. That's like, oh, that's obviously early access stuff right now.
You're convincing me. That's what's happening right now. You are convincing me. I think maybe I will wait until I've run out of other stuff to play, which will probably be in the near future. I probably have like a month of runway of games still, but then I'm going to get bored, and then it'll either be like I'm going to play Hades or I'm going to play Dota, and if there's no Dota patch, then I'm going to play Hades.
I haven't unlocked any aspects. I don't think that aspects are in the game yet. Mm-hmm. You know, the twists on the weapon types. Yep. That part, I don't think there is any in early access, or at least I haven't gotten to it, and I haven't seen anything for it yet. Uh-huh. I assume they're doing that again because I think it was a really good concept.
It's the best part of the game. One of the best parts, yeah.
Yeah. So that is definitely a big part that is missing right now. But I think there's 5 weapons at the start. Yeah, I think it's 5. I'm counting that up right. So, you know, combined, there's still a ton of replayability without that aspect weapons. Mm-hmm. You know, because they have all new gods, and I mean they don't repeat hardly any gods. There's only a couple that are repeat. And there are some things that I don't actually like about the game. Some new concepts that they try to go with that I don't quite like. That I have a feeling they're going to rework. But all in all, super happy with the game.
Well, shit, I guess I'm going to have to play it. God damn it! I was gonna try and wait as long as possible. I was kind of hoping you'd be like, like a lot of fun, still really having fun, but not finished. But even to hear that like it's kind of close, even though they said like I think that they were estimating that like it's probably they're gonna do early access all year, then like maybe early next year will be like 1.0, and I'm like I can probably wait 8 months.
It sounds like the same release schedule that they did for the first one.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, it's a roguelike, right? So I think it's that I have so many roguelikes in my Steam that I have early access to or are fully released games, and then they release an expansion pack or something like that. I think that's the best part about roguelikes is that you could play them a bunch, and then they put in new content, and you can go back and play them again. So that's the way I treat all roguelikes. So for Hades early access, it just fits right up my alley. It's
gotten to the point where when I see a new roguelike, I either like send it to you or think about you because I'm like, I wonder if Austin will like this. Like,
yeah, the last one. Did you get on the Balatro train,
dude? Oh my god, fucking Balatro was the only game that I played during April when I was gone. I took my Switch. That's actually not true. I also played Pepper Grinder, but that was like only 4 hours of game. I played Balatro for my count was about 70 hours in the month of April. It was about 70 hours of Balatro, and I had a couple of goals, and I played it all on patch 1.0. And I did not update my game. My goal was to win with a deck on gold stake, win with every deck on white stake, and then do all 20 challenges.
I think Avery has fully completed the game.
That is,
I think.
Avery, that is insane. That is that there is some not well behavior there. Like there is so like the amount of time that has to take.
That's some unemployed behavior right there. That's what that is.
Dude, that is because I think that like if I looked at my stats, I've unlocked almost every Joker. I beat all the challenges. I've done like a lot of completion stuff, but everything beyond that just feels incredibly grindy, and I'm not interested in like the grind aspect of that. Right? I was interested in some of the challenge. How much Balatro did you play?
I did not play as much as I think you did. Mm-hmm. It's a great game. We were all playing it during last Stream League. It went through the talent scene really, really quickly. Somebody suggested it to me before I flew, and then I played it a bunch, and then it got to the green room and spread around super quickly. And so by like day one of Dream League, you go into the green room, and it's literally like 2 people are on their Steam Decks playing Balatro, and 3 PCs in the room are also all playing Balatro. It's pretty funny. But like people like BSJ and Avery right there, they like poker, so it just kind of scratches some similar itches.
Yeah, I didn't like some of the end game challenges for anybody who wants to commiserate on like having to try and complete Golden Needle, which is you only get 1 hand per blind for your entire run, a single hand per blind for the entire run. That challenge is kind of bullshit. It's like a little bit more RNG than I would like it to be at the start. You need to it's pretty reset heavy, which is annoying because resetting in that game is like a decent amount of button presses. Similarly, challenge 20 is jokerless. 0 jokers. 0 jokers. That was the last thing I did. And I was on a plane. I was on the plane back from London to Los Angeles, and it's nighttime. People are sleeping, and I'm just sitting there listening to fucking the new Taylor Swift album, being all grumpy, being like, "Fuck, I gotta reset this run again." And that took me like 5 to 6 hours to beat the Jokerless challenge, and it wasn't fun for most of that time. It wasn't fun. When I won, it felt more relieved, like I have freed myself from this prison I have constructed for myself than it was a sense of achievement and jubilation. It was like, oh, thank God.
You're gaming incorrectly. See, the roguelikes are meant for you to just play out to a point that you're like, I'm kind of done with this game. And it sounds like you were done with that game, but you set yourself these fucking artificial parameters that you had to make. You're just, I have to do this, I have to do that.
Okay, so now here's where we might differ a little bit, because are you telling me that if you were like, I'm going to try and play all the challenges, and you get to like 18 out of 20 of the challenges, you're okay being like, I'm just not going to finish the last two, they're kind of bullshit?
Yeah, I'm totally okay with that.
I'm not. That is exactly where I have a problem and where we're differing here, because I have such a sunk cost fallacy at this point for beating 18 of the 20 that I'm like, well, I just have to do all of them. I have to. What else? What am I going to do? Am I going to watch a movie on the plane?
Guess what, Joey? That 6 hours that you spent grinding out that one Balatro fucking achievement, that was 6 hours of Hades 2 for me, and I was having a great time the entire time.
I guess I got a podcast story out of it, but 6 hours for one of those? And it's not even a good one.
Yeah. You're gaming incorrectly, my friend.
Sometimes I am. Sometimes I feel like gaming and media is closer to a checklist for me of all the stuff I want to see and do.
Yes, I can tell. You know. I can tell.
I don't know, man. I don't know. What's next for you?
I'm leaving for Dream League in a week. It's a short Dream League, so it's only a week long. So that's going on. And then, yeah, I've just been, I mean, I knew at the start of relatively early on, the start of the year, that I was going to have some gaps in work, and I wasn't going to be working some of these tournaments coming up. And so, I started that whole content grind, and I started the thing with Avery, where now we've got another series going on, and we're gonna be selling that to somebody. So it's working out. It's working out.
That must feel good, right? Like on some level.
I wanted a little bit of extra, extra income on the side for when I don't make these events. And I mean, the income helps, but also, frankly, just doing something, because otherwise I'm going to go insane if I'm just playing Dota. And I'm not even playing Dota, so what the fuck am I doing? So yeah, pretty happy with that. I think
you should be. That's the amount of people who have sold anything in our industry is very low. Yeah, it's definitely an achievement.
Yeah, I think we're pretty happy with that. That should come out sometime after Wallachia, so that's coming up pretty soon. So we'll have an announcement about that at some point. And I also started up. You remember when I was in Malaysia, I started taking up boxing?
I do.
I started doing that again because I was like, I need something to keep me physically active, and it also keeps my brain active, and also gets out some aggression, and a little combination of things. So,
did you want to die after your first class again?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was sore for like 5 days afterwards. But, they offered like half-hour ones and hour-long ones. And I was like, I am not in good enough shape to do the hour-long one, but I'm buying a full package, so I'm going to get my goddamn value. So I went for the most days in the package, and I went for the hour-long one.
Oh no.
So I'm committed. It's set up so I have a certain number, so I have to do one a week basically for 6 months. But obviously I'm gone sometimes, so I'm gonna try and do 2 a week at some point, so to kind of catch up.
Damn, you're gonna be hot by TI.
We'll see about that. I still eat like shit. I eat whatever the fuck I want. My mom was just here, and we took her out to. Have you ever gone to Major Domo with us?
No, I've not.
super nice Asian fusion restaurant that's like somewhat close by. Took my mom out to that for Mother's Day. Walked the Huntington Library. You ever been there?
I do. I like the Huntington Library. It's a nice. I don't care about museums very much, but the grounds of the Huntington Library are nice. Just to chill.
Yeah. We don't do the museum, any of the inside stuff.
I don't want to see the pictures and sculptures and shit. I want to see the flowers.
Purely there for the plants. I'm mostly just there for the Chinese garden. That one's definitely the best one.
Oh, for sure.
By far. Yeah. But I love a good water feature, you know.
I too love a good water feature.
Yeah. That's something about me is like running water. I'm a big fan of running water. If I had my ideal house would be on a river or on the ocean somewhere, or a sea or something, you know, somewhere that water is there and is moving.
Rivers I'm into. Oceans care a little bit less about. I like the creek. I like the little noise of the creek, the woodsiness of it. The ocean, though, too much sand. You gotta have the sand with the ocean. Nobody likes sand.
Yeah, well, neither of us are gonna get any of that living in Los Angeles. So.
We can move to some random ass place and go get a beach house, but not here. We're gonna be firmly in the city.
True. Are you leaving again anytime soon? Or are you staying in LA for a while?
I'm staying in LA for a while. There is the possibility that I go and work with the DOTA team a little bit before Riyadh. And there is an even smaller possibility that I go to Riyadh. I don't know. There's a lot of variables there. There's a lot of questions I think that all the teams still have about like schedule and content bounty and a bunch of just like questions around the event that like need to get sorted out. But
content bounty.
Content.
That's right. They got to bring Joey, and they got to bring Joey in to get the content rolling, so you guys can win the bounty.
I just want the money.
Extra $100,000 or whatever it is.
The thing is, I think the number's low, which is actually why it might be a problem. There's a lot of focus on the Esports World Cup for the next couple of months, so that's going to be like the big thing. I just spent the last week rushing to do a video because basically all of the participating teams, which there's 30 of, we got a message on like Friday last week, or I guess Friday 2 weeks ago. It's like, hey, can you guys like put something out in like 7 days? And I'm like, excuse me, what? A week? So if you look on the Team Liquid Twitter, there's like a promo video that I made in like truly 72 hours for that, and that's going to kind of continue to be the big focus as we talk about like what the fuck is going on there. So maybe I'm out there, maybe I'm not. I don't really know. The only thing that I know that I am traveling for is I will be at IEM Dallas. For anybody who is also going to be at IEM Dallas for any reason, now this is a.
Yeah, I'm looking at the video now. Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, are those the Guess Who things?
So you understood my creative. That's good. That's good. They're not. Okay,
they're not exactly the same, but they look very similar, and you're flipping them down like the Guess Who game.
Correct. That is exactly what I was thinking about. Let me because we're talking about it now. Let me give you an ounce more context. Aside from I had to do this quickly, I thought that a lot of teams were going to be like, "We're the best. Look at all of our championships. We're so good at stuff," because it's like the easy thing to go to, right? It's like,
sure.
Look at these trophies we've won, and I think legitimately that Team Liquid has a better holistic resume than essentially every other team, right? So I thought, how do we turn the idea of other people doing like a we're the best, look at our trophies on their heads, right? And I'm like, oh, well, what if we played like Guess Who? Of like, well, this team only has one championship, this team doesn't have this team's only been around for 5 years, stuff like that. And so I couldn't actually use a Guess Who board because licensing reasons. So I was like, how am I going to do this? So I spent in a single day, I went to go buy like those little picture frames that you see, those little like stand-up edgeless picture frames.
Yeah.
Because that's what they had at Target, and I'm like, I'll just go around to a couple Targets. I need to buy 30 of them. Guess how many Targets I went to on, what was that, Wednesday? How many Targets did I go to on Wednesday to buy 30 of those picture frames?
Oh, so you went to one and got all of them, and then they only had like 5 or 6, I bet. Maybe up to 8. I'm gonna say 4 or 5 Targets.
I went to 7 fucking Targets, Austin, to get everything that I needed for that video. I started my first Target, 8 picture frames. Cool, that's easy.
That was a good start.
I'm probably going to go to a couple Targets. Second Target, 11 picture frames. I'm fucking cooking. I got 19 of them. I probably need to go like 1, maybe 2 more Targets. Everything's great. And then everything went downhill immediately. I bought that picture frame from every Target in the San Fernando fucking Valley. I hope that nobody else wants one in the next week because they have to restock them at every fucking Target because I bought them all. And then I had to like print out the team pictures to put in them, and then we had to film it, and then we were filming until like midnight, and it was like a whole thing. But like I'm relatively happy with what I made given the time constraints.
And then the other thing that I was laughing at, first voice I hear, your guys' Team Liquid victory at TI, voiced by Toby Wan.
yeah, that did happen, huh? That did.
You guys have to use his voice for eternity.
Yeah, I should.
Because TI is a massive victory. So if you ever want to highlight that and have the live casting there, it has to be him. You know what I actually have just thought of in this second, Austin? I should give you $100 or whatever you want, name your price, to dub over that clip. The exact same words. And then I will just take them, and anytime I have to use the TI trophy moment, I will just use your redub voice. Nice. I will have Toby Wan erasure. If you told me a decade ago when my career started that I would literally be replacing Toby Wan. Nice. So esports World Cup's a whole thing. I'm sure that we're going to talk about it a handful more times for a bunch of different reasons, but not right now. And like, as in because you guys will have more requirements like this. Like, they told you to do this because you're a partnered team, so all the partnered teams have to do something like this? Essentially, if you go to their Twitter, you will start to see, like, them retweeting, essentially. Like, LGD has one that they spent a fuck ton of money on. Tundra has what I think is potentially the worst piece of Dota content I have, or the worst piece of team content I have seen in my entire life. Oh, my God. 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Oh, okay, so it lasts a while. It is. I wish that I could professionally like take the piss out of it online, but I know that I can't. Like, it's just real. I really can't. I mean, I guess I am here, but this is different. But like, it feels like an ISIS video. Like there somebody is pointing a gun at somebody behind the camera. I promise you. Well, you had a week to do it, I guess. Dude. So LGDs, they spent a ton of money on. It's really cool. Tundra's at the opposite end of the spectrum. Mine is like in the middle, maybe okay. Space Station has an okay one. There's like a bunch of teams who are doing a bunch of different stuff, with different fidelity, and that makes sense. But yeah. I'll be at IEM Dallas. For anybody else who is at IEM Dallas and wants to say hi, you can just message me on Discord. There were a lot of people who I got to meet at Birmingham for the first time. That was really cool. There was somebody who told me that they have a picture with you at an event that I wasn't at, and a picture of me at an event that you weren't at, but they were wearing the same shirt, so they're going to try and Photoshop it to make it look like we had a group picture. Nice. So I'm still waiting on that one. But yeah, and anybody who's going to be at IM Dallas, I'll be there for the Counter-Strike and the StarCraft and the Smash stuff. I'm looking at this LGD video. And they have this woman walk through. Is that what's her name? Ruru?
I don't know. I'm not too familiar.
I don't know what she looks like, so I'm very curious if that's Ruru, the queen of LGD, who is. If none of you guys are aware, there's like a bunch of drama surrounding her and her interaction with players and LGD. I mean, she's obviously responsible for LGD, and LGD have been screwing over players, and but they have some money, at least it seems.
They have some money, and they cared about this deliverable, because I'm pretty sure that nobody else is really invested with what they're doing to make that little video. It looks nice. They put some effort into it for sure. They really did. So.
Damn, she just took out the Team Liquid logo with a card. She just threw a card and took out all the other team logos.
Hey, man. Really badass.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money on that guy.
I know they did. They really did. I'm so confused.
Nobody was going to Target on that one, Joey.
Yeah.
You gotta show that to your bosses and be like, what the fuck? I need a bigger budget.
I spent $45 plus the cost of ramen for 3 people. So, for my video. So,
Yeah, you had a smoke machine. I saw a weight. You have your mascot thing.
That's all old footage.
That's all.
That's all old footage. I had that. I'm just like, oh, I was fucking reuse it. Like, oh.
Very resourceful, Joey. You deserve a raise. You're saving the company big bucks.
Thank you. Because I'm going to Target, baby. I don't know.
Is that your purview now? Your new job? I feel like that's several levels below your pay grade.
Yes and no. I think that important things for Team Liquid, I am still going to continue to touch in a bunch of different ways, because I think it's important to do some leading by example, and also it's fun for me, right? Also, I'm really cautious that a lot of my team was really stressed out in April because we had so many different things to do. We signed an Apex team and we were at the Apex event. We're looking at new partners and stuff like that. There's a lot of work that has had to get done. So it's really hard for me as a leader to be like, oh, hey, I hear all your complaints about fatigue and burnout. Also, I need you to make this thing that's really important in the next 48 hours. So I would rather, do something fun for myself, kind of tank it a little bit, and instead of, just being boss man who's like, yeah, I know you're tired, but please make an important video immediately. So that's kind of what happens there. I need to do less of that.
Yeah. More delegating.
It's getting better.
Okay, good.
It's getting better.
I'm glad to hear it. All right, one final question, Joey. Closing out the podcast. Who won or who's winning right now? Kendrick or Drake?
Kendrick. It's not even a question. I've been calling Drake a pedophile for 3 or 4 years. I bet
he's been on this day one.
I bet you can go back to an episode of this podcast where I have made a Drake joke. Ever since that video of him bringing that young girl on stage, that teenager in maybe it was Canada, where he asked her to kiss him or something like that. I have this memory from 2018, 2019, something like that.
Yeah, the worst part is he gets her age and then still goes through with it. Yeah, it was not great.
Yeah, ever since then I
haven't actually watched the video in a while, but yeah.
But ever since then, I'm like, this guy's sus. This guy's mafia. So the whole Kendrick Drake thing starts happening, and I'm like, 1, super interesting bit of pop culture. 2, why would you ever want to argue with Kendrick? He is way smarter than you. 3, why would you want to argue?
That whole beef battle. It in some way, to be fair to Drake, I don't think it's really possible for him to win, because the culture is so set up is everybody's cheering against him.
Yeah.
So no matter what he drops, it just will, unless he just absolutely annihilated Kendrick, there was just no way that people were going to walk away saying Drake won. So like, but that is also part of going into a battle in the first place, is like knowing the ground that you're standing on. And Drake was not standing on good ground. This is not a battle he could have ever won.
No, I don't think so.
There are way too much shit about him online right now that everybody was talking about before the beef started. That like,
and then like trying to imply that like Kendrick was like sexually assaulted, maybe, and is like has repressed like. But people
you're calling me a pedophile because you got molested as a kid.
Yeah,
that's a weird fucking turn, Drake. That's a weird turn.
That is the least logically sound argument I've heard in a minute, and I have been paying attention to the Trump trials. Like, I don't understand what the fuck Drake has been thinking.
Another thing of him being incredibly out of touch is, you know, like him being like, yeah, I'm too famous to be a pedophile, guys. Like, if that was, surely it would have come out by now. Like, have you not, the last 10 years or whatever, like the Me Too movement that just happened recently, like what?
Yeah, Drake has never heard of, I don't know, the Catholic Church or the Pope or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Or Cosby. Or, it's like, what?
Actually, I don't think Cosby was a pedophile. I'm not here to defend Cosby.
Sure, but it all falls under the same, like, I'm too famous to do this sex crime. Like, what?
Absurd. I can't, dude.
If anything, right now, most people think that, like, if you're rich and famous, it means you're more likely to be doing that stuff. Because
I think that's true from what I've seen. I don't know.
Probably.
Have you seen any of the...
It's kind of like the whole, you know, like if you're a CEO, you're probably more likely to be a psychopath, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Have you seen any of the, speaking of crazy sex offenders, any of the Vince McMahon allegations?
Recent ones?
It was like a month ago, but in the same vein of, like, you know, famous people who were being exposed for bad sex stuff, like, oh me, oh my, he was pooping on people.
Oh yeah, I did. I knew about the pooping on people.
He was pooping on people, and Drake's likes young girls. What's wrong with all this? Famous people are the problem.
Yeah, they are. That's why you and I should be famous instead.
Yes! I would have zero weird sex things.